What's up everybody, Bandit here. So you're considering new wheels and tires for your truck but you don't know where to start. Well, I've been researching this the past couple months and I finally came up with a solution that works for me and hopefully it can help you out a little bit. So here is a look at the wheel and tire setup I ended up going with. These are the Cooper Discover AT3 tires. They're not the newest tires on the market, but they do have a good bit of bite here in the tread. The sidewall is a little bit less aggressive than what you'd find, say, on the new Falcon AT3Ws like Chad has, or maybe even a BFG KO2. But ultimately, I do feel very comfortable with this tire. I actually had a set of these tires in the past. They treated me very, very well. They're very quiet and they wear very slowly, which is all something that I, highly value. As far as the wheels here, they are the American Racing Mojave ATX wheels. They are a 16x8, and I actually found these wheels on Craigslist. A guy was getting rid of them. He had them on his FJ Cruiser, and ultimately I got all 5 wheels and 2 brand new sets of wheel spacers, so 4 wheel spacers in all, for roughly $250. I plan on selling the wheel spacers, so really I don't have a whole lot of money in these wheels either. Ultimately, the tires out the door cost me roughly $650 with new lug nuts. I'll get to that here in a minute. And again, the wheels were $250 minus the cost of the wheel spacers. So it's really not a super expensive setup. Certainly you can spend a lot more on your wheel and tire setup, but ultimately I feel this is a good match for exactly what I'll be doing in my truck, both highway driving, off-road driving, and the combination of the two. So these Cooper Discover AT3 tires, again, are not new to the market, but they are time and time proven. They are a very good tire, and one of the reasons that really led me to pick this tire, again, I did have a set of these in the past, is the Load Range C designation. Now, very, very few tires still carry the Load Range C designation, and really the only two in an all-terrain tire that I could find were this tire and the DuraTrack. Now, I've heard mixed reviews on the DuraTrack, but we're really not here to talk about those. But really, the reason I wanted the Load Range C, really tires come in 2 different load ranges. You have the passenger tires, which are good for really a lot of these trucks from the factory, but if you do plan on hauling a lot or off-roading, I would recommend going up to an LT tire. An LT tire is your Load Range C, Load Range E are really the most common ones, but it's a thicker sidewall and also a different rubber compound. Also with LT tires, you do have deeper tread than a passenger tire, and ultimately with deeper tread and a different rubber compound, they should wear a good bit slower, and you should get more life here out of a Load Range C tire or a Load Range E tire. Now, the reason I didn't go with the Load Range E, the Load Range E is rated to similar to a 10 ply. Very, very few of these tires actually have 10 plies, and very few Load Range Cs actually have 6 plies. That is originally what it meant. Now, with a Load Range E, again, it is a thicker, harder sidewall, and ultimately on a lighter truck like this, or say a Wrangler or something like that, you really don't need a tire that is quite that heavy. Really, I mean, you could run those on a 1-ton pickup easily and it wouldn't be an issue. So I should get a little bit better ride here out of a Load Range C than you would a Load Range E. Now, it is a little bit more expensive to go with an LT tire versus a passenger rated tire, but ultimately I think it's worth it. Buy once, cry once. You only need to purchase these tires once. Again, they should wear a good bit slower, but also they should be a little bit more resistant to punctures or anything like that. And ultimately, when you're out there on the trail, it is a little bit more peace of mind. Now, as far as these wheels, again, these are the American Racing Mojave ATX wheels, and they are Teflon coated. Teflon, very similar to like your cooking ware, your pots and pans and that sort of thing. They are coated in that material. It should make them easy to wash. It also is supposed to make mud just fall right off of them and not stick to the wheel, and I'm really impressed by that. I did go ahead and take a lug nut out of these, and I'll show you why here in a second, but we are using the factory tire pressure monitoring sensors in here, which is a really good deal. I don't have to buy new sensors, and everything is working just fine there. These are a 16-inch tall by 18-inch wide wheel, and because of that, I could run the 265/75 R16s, which on a Tacoma is one of the bigger tires that you can run here without any kind of rubbing either in the front nor the back. And I've already gone to full lock. We're not having any rubbing or anything like that, so great news there. Also, with these wheels and tires, they are offset to 0 millimeters, meaning they are a little bit wider, and that is good news as well. Now, with a 16-inch wheel here on the TRD Off-Roads, it is the same size wheel that it came with. However, you could not go any smaller with a wheel than this. You know, here in the back we do still have drum brakes. Up in the front you have the discs, and the discs are very, very close, as well as the calipers to those wheels. So you definitely cannot run a 15-inch wheel, but I would definitely recommend the 16s, especially if you plan on taking your truck off-road. A 16-inch wheel is, again, the smallest you can go, which means you have more rubber here on the sidewall, which allows you to air down more. It also has a little bit softer ride because obviously rubber and air compress and are a lot more adaptive to the ride than metal is. These are an alloy wheel, even though they do look steel, and again, we'll get to that here in a second. So let's talk lug nuts here for a second. Now this is a spare tire off of a first-gen Tacoma. Now obviously it would look very, very similar to what's under this Tacoma. It just saves me a little bit of time from dropping it out the bottom. But it is a 16-inch wheel wrapped around a roughly 30-inch tire. And for these steel wheels, you use an acorn-shaped lug nut. This is an acorn-shaped lug nut. As you can see, it kind of tapers down towards the bottom. And it's a really simple lug nut. It's what they used for a long, long time. But basically, this is all that steel wheels use. Very, very few other wheels use this sort of lug nut, which is kind of a pain. But moving on, this is what a factory Toyota lug nut looks like. It has a big flange here at the bottom. It's clearly different from the acorn-shaped lug nut. And these also can be used with very, very few wheels. Now, they are interchangeable. Basically, all Toyota wheels can use something like this. And probably for short stints, you could use a lug nut like this for a steel wheel. I would not recommend it. But if you need to get yourself out of a pinch, it would probably work just fine. Now, moving on, just to give you some kind of reference, here's a lug nut off of a Jeep Wrangler JK. Again, it's kind of a hybrid of the two. It does have a small little flange at the bottom, but it also tapers down there towards the bottom as well. Now, for these American racing wheels here, I did end up with 5 when I did the Craigslist purchase, and I had to get an entirely different lug nut for that still. Now, this is a 19mm lug nut, or a 3/4 inch lug nut, I believe. I think that's what the two sizes are for metric and standard. But again, this is very similar to the Jeep lug nut, meaning it has a little flange at the bottom, but it also tapers down. Now, the reason I had to get a lug nut like this is the holes in these American racing wheels are a little bit smaller. So to get the lug nut in and then a socket around that, we did have to go with a slightly smaller diameter lug nut. Now, again, the threads are the same and everything like that, but we did just get a little bit smaller outer diameter there so we could get a socket on it and get the wheels installed. Now, I realize this is a lot to consider, but really the easiest thing here is to either consult with kind of a wheel or tire shop, or do a lot of reading. Tacoma World really helped me, and I was able to order a set of lug nuts that helped me out. Another thing to consider is many lug nuts are either a 19 or a 21mm. All of these are 21mm over here. Again, the factory setup. A lot of the other ones, like this lug nut off the Jeep and the lug nut that we ended up using for these American racing wheels, are a 19mm. Most wheels will use one or the two of those. I believe Chevrolet is different. I just went out and checked my dad's Colorado, and I couldn't get a 21mm on that, so you may want to consider that as well. Now, anytime you buy anything off of Craigslist or used in general, you can expect it to have a little bit of damage. This, again, is the 5th wheel, and it is the worst one. You can see it has a pretty good curb rash here. It looks like the previous owner maybe tried to fix it a little bit. It doesn't look great, but that's kind of a good problem to have, in my opinion. Now, I got these for a really good deal. Again, if I continue to off-road and live that kind of lifestyle, small little scratches on your wheel do happen. I don't view that as too big of an issue. But ultimately, I got all 5 wheels for considerably less than I could have got a set of 4 new ones. And I really like this style of wheel. Now, obviously, they're not flashy. There are a lot of other wheel styles out there. But a lot of people with Toyotas seem to go with, say, the TRD wheels. You end up spending a lot of money for TRD wheels. Not saying they don't look good. I really, really do like the wheel. But you can certainly save yourself a lot of money if you go with another aftermarket company and possibly even a set of used ones. Now, I was looking on YouTube the other day. There is another YouTuber well bigger than me, but Chris Fix, I'm sure a lot of you all are familiar with him. He did a video where he roughed up this, sanded it down, and then repainted it, and the wheels turned out great. So if y'all be interested, I would certainly like to do a video on that and hopefully kind of restore this wheel back to what it was. So ultimately, I'm very happy with this wheel and tire setup. American Racing does have some center caps. I'm gonna not run those because they do stick out a little bit, and ultimately I am fine with the look without them. Also, you can clean up these hubs a little bit with some spray paint or some soapy water just so they match a little bit better and they don't look a little rusty, and I will do that here in the near future. But we'll pan around here and give you a look of exactly what a new Tacoma with zero offset tires. You can see it really fills up the fender well there and is really the exact same width as these fender flares, and I really love the look of that. But we'll pan around here to the front so you can see the whole truck and go from there. So ultimately, I do still have a couple of questions regarding this wheel and tire setup. I've not yet done the chalk test, meaning I've not yet covered the tread in chalk and rolled the truck to see exactly how much air pressure I should have. Well, that will be coming in another video. And also, it remains to be seen exactly how this wheel and tire setup affects my fuel economy. But again, we'll be sure and keep you all up to date as far as all that's concerned. So overall, out the door, I have roughly $800 in this setup. Again, the wheels are used. I did go to a local tire dealer and get the tires. It's not a big chain or anything like that. But overall, I'm very happy with the setup, and I think it was a pretty good deal too. So if you enjoyed this video and you're stopping in for the first time, please consider subscribing and liking the video. And as always, leave us a comment in the comment section and let us know how we're doing. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Now, I ended up saving so much money with this wheel and tire purchase and buying the wheels used and everything like that, that I was able to buy something that I've been wanting for a very long time. A 1/2-inch impact gun from DeWalt, and this will certainly make changing these wheels and tires a lot quicker in the future.